Hello, 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 and welcome to Strauss on Spreadsheets. I'm the Strauss, and this is today's spreadsheet, but more about that later. In a previous video, I was at the Technikum 29 Business and Scientific Computing Museum in Kelkheim near Frankfurt, Germany, and there, amongst many beautiful exhibits, which I will be providing more videos on, we saw this guy, definitely more videos. This is the original IBM PC, also known as the 5150, not to be confused with the mediocre Van Halen album or the California Mental Health Sectioning Act. It's the PC. It's what kicked off the PC revolution. It's what drove everything, and that's why things look like they do today. And it was very successful. Ultimately, the architecture, the success got away from IBM with all the clones, and thank goodness it did. That still, absolutely seminal computer. Then, also in that museum, I saw this guy, LGP 30. It's an LGP 30 from the late 50s. Valve computers. This is pre-transistor, and I've got a video coming up on this one. Keep an eye out for that. And at the time, this thing, about 500 were built, which was a success, right? So a computer, in those days, if it built more than 10, that was like, oh my God, you've gone into mass production. The ENIAC and the others very often were one-off, or maybe 5 or 10. So 500 of this little LGP, more videos coming, was impressive. That led me to the question, to the research. How many computers were there in the world? How did that evolve? And the graph here is up until the year 2000, obviously very exponential, but something is weird here, right? That bottom straight line pixel is below 1 million, maybe 10,000, 100,000 computers worldwide, but for literally the better part of 4 decades, we're there. We're stuck at 1 million computer best case. And then something around this time here, in 1979, 1980, something happens which drives that number up. As from them, what happened? And, well, it's IBM. We just saw that. IBM released the 5150, and then it was cloned, and that was the explosion. Tell you a secret, it was not IBM. Anyone who's been in this industry, worked with them directly, I have, and been observing them for better part of half a century, as I have. IBM does not move fast and does not move first. They will do something if they have exhausted all other possibilities, including doing nothing for 5 years, and then they will do it. And when they do something, then they go in heavy with the huge financial and brand might that IBM brings to the table. So it wasn't IBM that drove that inflection point, because that was already after IBM 81. You can see the might to see how much money they spent on this, right? They licensed the Charlie Chaplin Tramp, crazy amounts of money, and it was all over, but they were reacting. They were not they were scared of something. And what were they scared? These two hairy bearded guys, the two Steves, Steve Wozniak on the left, Steve Jobs on the right, and we have an Apple II just like this guy. This is mine, right? This is my original Apple II, which I got in about 1983, 1984 as a hand-me-down from my mother's American employer. We'll get back to that in a second. So we thought, oh, well, they invented the Apple II, and it was the first sort of consumer-grade, mass-market computer, and people bought them, and that's why Nope. That wasn't it. The real thing that happened was this guy, VisiCalc, right? This is today's subject. This is my own personal, real, genuine, so there we are, licensed copy of VisiCalc. This is the 48 kilobyte version for 60 sector disk. I'll show more about the contents of this in a moment. But there is a quote which you find on the Wikipedia article, the killer app, right? For the first 12 months, VisiCalc, which is a spreadsheet, we will be looking at it very shortly, was only available for Apple II and became the killer app. Some people say that, John Markoff at the time wrote that this computer, which is worth $2,000 back then, which is worth over 8,000, maybe 9,000 in today's dollars, right? People were buying that to run this $99 software. Okay, and when IBM saw that happening, it's like, okay, we better get with a program, and then they came with everything they had, and just caught up, and the rest is history. So let me just refresh on this one. This is an emulation of this VisiCalc, which you can run in your browser. I will share the link in the description below. Let me just full screen this, and it's very simple. That's why it was only 99 bucks. It doesn't do very much, right? And you see it's slow. This is like, this takes a while, right, to start. Come on. Don't. You can do this. It was working earlier. Oh, there we go. See how slow this is. This is actual speed. So this is what you were presented with on screen. Full screen that for you. And what could you do? You could enter numbers into a spreadsheet. You could navigate the spreadsheet. As you may or may not see on this keyboard, the original Apple II only has left and right keys, doesn't have an up and down key. If I want to go up and down, I have to hit space, and now the surfing, the navigation direction has turned by 90 degrees. So I'm going to put some numbers in here. Yeah. And yep, that's a spreadsheet. And what can I do now? I can put, I put in this guy. I can use functions with the @ Sound familiar to anybody? It's like, this is nothing new under the sun. Why is that not working? Hang on. @ is it here? So it's I have the wrong keyboard here, so that's causing some issues. And when I press escape, it gets out. I cannot. Okay, let's try that again. sum, so I have a function. Here's the bracket, A1 dot A4. Ta-da! And it calculates the sum, and it can do this with much longer numbers. And if I change the numbers up here, it will recalculate. That's it. That's the spreadsheet, right? But the fact that this was available for $2,100 when all alternatives were a factor of probably 50 more expensive, because you were buying a mainframe and you had to have a guy in a white suit to take care of this. No, you can buy this, take it out of the box, put the floppy in, and start doing stuff. And what am I doing? Well, I'm a small business. I'm totaling up my my invoices. I can do accounting, and of course I can do what-if analysis. Oh, what if Bob only sells 7 units instead of 7.76? Well, this is what's going to happen, right? There are other functions described here. Actually, let me switch over back to this guy temporarily. So here, you know, this is proper software. It's only a floppy, but you get this manual, very thick paper, screenshots, everything absolutely detailed out. And my actual favorite, which was very helpful trying to navigate even that emulated thing over there, is you get a fold-out reference card with everything, which tells us, for instance, there are other functions like pi. Oh, that's I hadn't seen that one. Let's go. I have a function called pi. Sorry, I didn't do the @ Oh, that then becomes a label. So just like today, here we go. That's the @ pi. There we go. It goes pi. But it can also do things like max. Find the maximum of. And notice how I can actually select the field by navigating. I don't just type it in. So very intuitive, very simple, especially if you know things today. So it can find the biggest number, it can find the sum, it can find pi. And at this time, absolutely revolutionary. And that's what drove IBM. And that's why PCs evolved the ways they have. Well, sure, things would have come in a different way, but we would ultimately have wound up with the same thing. Evolution tends to work that way. But this is how our particular path to the present one was. So back over here, what do I have? Yeah, I'll share all of these links in the description below if you like this kind of content. By the way, I'm just going to show off for 1 second, hope this works. I'm actually emulating an Apple II on this little Neo 6502 €30 single board computer, and the logo of this is actually also designed. So here's actually hardware emulation. I have a separate keyboard and I can do the advanced version from 1984. Back to us. If you like this sort of content, feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the like thing, the notification bell, all of those things if you want to, but it's not that important. If you got here via the LinkedIn, I normally post these or publish these via LinkedIn, please absolutely like, share for visibility so that more people can get to these videos. Going to try and shoot for 1 a week. And if you really, really, really like this content, go to Strauss with 3s's.com, and at the right hand side subscribe to the mailing list, to the newsletter. I haven't used it yet, but that of course makes me more independent of YouTube, LinkedIn and other big technologies. and so I can address you, my audience, more directly. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed all of that. And more videos coming. Going to shoot for one a week where they're going to be talking about systems, supply chain, and software, and spreadsheets in various sequences. Have a fantastic day.